There are a ton of plugins that you can use to set up A/B reference tracks. In this video, I will share my method of doing this in Cubase Pro without the need of any extra plugins. I will also share the best way to set up a dead easy to use switchable reference version library so you can have maximum control over the way that your music evolves. Before we dive into this, let's go over why you should want this in the first place. Every change you make to a track should be an improvement. This is important for mixing and even more important for mastering music. For professional mixing and mastering engineers, the primary function of an A/B test is to make sure that everything they do actually improves the song instead of just endlessly changing it. There is a secondary function for using reference tracks, but before I get into this, let's first see how to set up reference tracks in Cubase Pro first. To set this up, we're gonna need the control room, which is included in Cubase Pro. I have a track here I'm currently working on. It's called Weightless, which will be out soon for streaming, and I want to make a quick pre-master before sending it to the mastering engineer this afternoon. Let's first open up the audio connections panel by selecting it in the studio menu or pressing the F4 key. If you don't use the control room yet, your sound will be sent through the stereo out or whatever output you set it to. To enable control room, go over the control room tab and enable it. In the background, Cubase creates a monitor 1 bus and routes the device ports that were under the stereo output to it. If you click Add Channel, you can add a few different types of output channels. We won't go into the details of these, but you can select Add Cue here. I call it Reference, and then I close the dialog, and next to the mix selector in the control room section, a new button appeared, the Q1 selector. We'll assign it to a shortkey, so I head over to key commands under the edit menu, type in source, and add a shortkey to select control room source. I set it to /. As we close this window and we hit the / key on my keyboard, the source changes from mix to cue back and forth nicely. Now the last step is to create a track of my reference, call it reference, and set the output to no bus. We don't want to send it to the stereo out, aka the mix. Instead, we enable QSend1 on the QSends tab and make sure it is set to post fader. I usually leave the fader at unity gain. Now I close the channel settings and add the last export of the mix to the track. And now I can hear exactly what the impact of the changes are by just hitting a button. Before I go into the secondary function, there is one more trick that I use all the time, and it's creating a track history. Simply drop down the arrow next to the track name and create a new version. Name it and add any older exports of the track. I usually make a quick export of my work after each mixing, mastering or composition session. Now, before we take a look at the second function, hit the like on the video if you think I did a good job of explaining so far, or subscribe if you love this type of content and want to stay posted about tips and tricks and awesome music production knowledge and a cool song every now and then, and even sometimes homebrew music videos. A second function is to reference other tracks within a specific genre to make sure that the track they're working on is roughly in the same ballpark. If you're new to music production, this is also a great way to improve your mixing skills. You can, for example, match the volume of musical instruments, like the kick or the vocals, the overall sound of an instrument, like the bass, or even try to match the overall loudness or sound to a similar track in a specific genre. There are a few methods to do this, but my go-to is using either the version history or the track lanes. To add external references, you can use the method explained earlier, or you can expand the track lanes here. To select a different track, use the Comp-Tool. I assigned it to the short key with the thingy to it. There's one caveat, however. In order to make an objective comparison, the tracks you compare need to be equally loud. If you don't do this, in general, the track that is louder will, as a rule of thumb, always sound better. Unless it's a shitty track, of course. We can measure this by taking the momentary LUFS, or if you want to compare the whole track, you can measure the integrated LUFS of a track and normalize the reference track to match the mix you're working on. If you want to know how to do this, check out this video. If you want to know how to do this, check out this video over here. If you want to get notified if Weightless releases, subscribe, and until then, keep on rocking. Relvoet out.